Hey everybody, my name's Robert. I'm with Team Covenant, but we are joined by Fantasy Flight's own Caleb and Matt. Welcome, guys.
Thank you
for joining us. And we are going to do an unboxing of the 5th pack of the, what cycle is this? What are we calling this?
The
Ringmaker cycle. I always forget that. And it's called Celebrimbor Secret. And it's a very exciting pack because there's some great cards in it. So let's just jump right in. First up, we have a hero. It's somebody you might have heard of. Her name's Galadriel, and she is a spirit-traded hero. She has 9 starting threat, 4 willpower, 0 attack, 0 defense, and 4 hit points. Noldor and Noble traded. Reading, Galadriel cannot quest, attack, or defend. What is she going to do then? Allies you control do not exhaust to commit to the quest during the round they enter play. And then also, action, exhaust Galadriel to choose a player. That player reduces his threat by 1 and draws 1 card, limit once per round. What do you think of that, Zach?
I think the art is fantastic.
Thanks, Magali.
It's done by Magali. I think she's awesome, right? It's not super high starting threat, and that ability can be game-changing.
Word. I agree.
That's my vote.
Incredible. And I think that there's some supplements for her that will help us deal with the drawbacks that she does have.
So, let's be real here. What you guys designed this card?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit like the Galadriel pack.
That's right.
Who designed this? Who's claiming it?
That was my idea.
So tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, the first line.
Her,
so the first line cannot attack, quest, or defend.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I knew was going to be on her card. It was like Galadriel needs to feel completely different from every other hero in the game because she's just such a unique person in Middle Earth. Where she plays a real support. We know she's really powerful. We know she's super wise, and she's even daunting to some people. Like, she intimidates. So we know she needs to be like a presence in the game, but she needed to feel different from like a Boromir who just runs out and kills things, or an Éowyn who just quests for a whole lot. So the one thing that defined Galadriel to me is the fact that she's got all this power, but she never really leaves Lothlorien, at least not until like after the War of the Ring. She goes throws down Dol Guldur. But during our timeline of the game, right, she never really leaves. Instead, she's blessing the Fellowship with gifts, and she's giving counsel. We learn later she sends messages to ask for the Dunedain to come help Aragorn. She's behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I figured that she could be, her hero would represent that she's not participating in the quest or combat. She's kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so then just kind of from a mechanical point of view, it's like, well, if I can't use my hero to do those things, who's going to do it for me?
Yeah.
And that's where the allies don't exhaust the quest part came from.
Yeah.
And then the last part was really kind of tying her into the spirit sphere and lowering threat, just the idea that what happens when you go talk to Galadriel? Well, you feel better about yourself, right?
You got more reasons.
You get some wisdom, so she can exhaust and vary multiplayer, right? Choose a player, your threat's getting up there. Why don't you lower your threat? Or I could really use a card.
Which represents the gift, right?
Yeah. So she's just been a lot of fun to play for those reasons.
That's really cool. I think you did a really great job of getting that across, because it's true. She's not a threat like Aragorn might kill something, versus this where it's she's her. It's really the presence of her, the thought of her, that is the power, not the actual actions that she does.
Yeah, and if you think about some of the members of the Fellowship too, just the fact that she exists and that Gimli saw her once was enough to make him keep going forever, right?
Yeah.
So
he's good.
Yeah.
She's gone.
Capped out.
Well, that's really cool. I think you guys did a great job, and of course, Magali killed it on the art.
Magali is. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please keep gracing us with your artwork. Zach, you want to hit the next one?
Yeah. I don't know how to say this. I'm bad at pronunciation, but Heir of Mardil.
Heir of Mardil.
Heir of Mardil.
But
sorry. 1 cost leadership attached to a noble hero. It's a title. Response: after attached hero gains any number of resources from a card effect, exhaust Heir of Mardil to ready attached hero.
That's bananas.
Seems pretty good. So
it's very good.
Yes, it is. It's very good.
For those maybe not as versed as you two in the Lord of the Rings lore, what is the Heir of Mardil in the story?
I'm gonna let Matt take this one. This was his card.
All right. So the heir, whoever is the Heir of Mardil at any given point in time, is the Steward of Gondor, or vice versa, if you will. But as far as how this card works, well, we've seen there's a cycle of trait attachments in this cycle. So there's the Ranger 1 Wingfoot that we saw earlier, and that one attaches to a Ranger. There's the Warden of Arnor. That was the one that came in the pack with Idrian, that attaches to a scout hero.
Yeah.
So this is the noble one.
Cool,
And
nice.
each of those attachments are meant to designed to sort of enhance and also give that trait an identity.
Yeah.
So the scouts, they're good at exploring locations, of course, because they're scouting ahead and they know the layout of the land. Rangers, you're being rewarded for your foresight and knowing what's going to happen, and that's one of Aragorn's specialties.
Yeah.
So for nobles, it's resources. Nobles have a supply of resources. They're
Makes sense.
dishing out their resources to other people, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So this does happen to work very well with Steward of Gondor,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which the two of those would make this pretty effective.
It basically turns this into a one-cost unexpected courage and leadership, which is
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
But it also puts a sort of a weird restriction on Steward of Gondor, because you want to get those resources early in the round to spend them.
Right.
But you can get it later, and
If you
have
get
a
it later, then you
standing
get
Yeah.
to ready as well. Yeah, but it also
Right.
comes with a number of other cards in leadership, which
Sure.
is really interesting. And I'm excited to see the combos that players find with this card.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're questioning as a group, anytime someone can give a resource to a hero, right?
Right.
It can stand that. So it could be really important. That's a really cool card. And
Yeah.
that art is also sick.
It is really good. Yeah.
Very
Is
sick
that
indeed.
that's another Macaulay?
No,
piece.
that's
Oh, it's Alexander
Alexander
Danes.
Danes.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
he
well,
does
they're
great work.
they're close.
He's very good.
It
Yeah.
looks good. Yeah, cool card.
All right, next up we have Orofin. He is a leadership ally, costing 3, 2 willpower, 2 attacks, 0 defense, 2 hit points, Sylvan and Scout traded, ranged keyword, and then reading. Response: after Orofin enters play, return a Sylvan ally from your discard pile to your hand. This is excellent. I love this. Mechanically, it fits just wonderfully within the Sylvan stuff that we've already got in this cycle. You guys have really dished it out quite nicely. And he's excellent in his own right, of course, with those stats, the hit points, the range keyword. Lovely. And Magali art. Thanks again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Range keyword's big, obviously.
Mhm.
What are some of the Sylvan allies that come to mind that you would want to recur, if you could? Are there any in particular?
Well, one that goes out of play a lot is the Sylvan Refugee.
Mhm.
So it's
Okay.
a spirit, 1 cost, 2 willpower. It's a great discounted price, but it has that effect. Like anytime any character leaves play, it just takes off.
It goes with it?
Yeah. It's like I'm out.
Mhm.
So this is gonna be a great way to like get that person back.
That's true.
Then there's a lot of just all the Sylvans have a like 1 hit point in this cycle,
So
except
it's-
for some of the the unique ones.
Mhm.
So they're very fragile. So if you're defending with them in combat, they're gonna die. So he can bring any one of those back.
How much of that had to do with, I cannot remember his particular name now, but the
Sylvan
lore-
Tracker.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that heals
the-
1 for all Sylvans.
That was a big part of it. Like once we knew we started like building up the Sylvan trait, it was like, well, if we have a bunch of Sylvans with 2 or 3 hit points,
Mhm.
that's just ridiculous. Where you can just ready them all and heal 1. Even where it is right now, where you've got like Sylvan heroes,
Mhm.
and then you've got a few Sylvan allies with 2 or 3 hit points. You can just soak archery damage. Like
Sure.
we'll play games like we have 8 archery, and my Sylvan friend's like, I got this. Takes all of it in a 4-player game. Just let me have it, and then at the end of the round, and it's all gone.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So but thematically it fit well too. That these Sylvan you don't see them at this point in the story like just charging out into battle.
Mhm.
They're even Orofin and Haldir. Their quote is like, "We can't take on all these guys by ourselves at once. Here, we gotta hide up in the trees. Go and get some help."
Sure.
So I thought both mechanically and thematically it really worked.
It's beautiful. I love it. Thanks again for the art, Magali. That's excellent.
Thanks again,
Yeah.
if you're
Can't-
watching.
Can't thank you enough.
We gotta start thinking other artists too.
I
They'd be
know,
like,
right?
"Oh, what about my art?"
Me too. I mean, this also looks amazing.
I really like,
Yes, it
yeah.
does.
This is
Carol?
Christine. Yeah, because she got the
Yeah.
rainbow effect
Mhm.
of the waterfall there
It's
from Hen at the
beautiful.
Noon.
Yes.
That's a really good nod to the source material there.
Yes, very good.
Where Tolkien spent like 30 minutes explaining
Talking about that waterfall.
Yeah.
By the way,
The
there's a
waterfall.
waterfall here. Would you like to hear about it?
Right? Got the whole title, the chapter titled after it.
Ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
All right, next up we have Henneth Annan-Guard. He's a 3 cost, 0 commitment, 2 strength, 2 defense, 2 health, ally, Gondor, warrior.
This is how we say it in Gondor.
You may give him doomed 1 when you play it from your hand. If you do, it gains response. After you play him, choose a character. Until the end of the round, that character gains +2 defense and gains Sentinel.
Wow.
Yep.
That's fantastic. within Gondor Sphere especially, that's, well, not Sphere, traits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is excellent.
And in tactics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running mono tactics or tactics leadership, you don't need to maybe necessarily grab Arwen anymore.
That's right. Though I probably still will.
You might still. But
You
yeah,
might
so
still.
Henneth the Noon is the home of Faramir's Rangers, of course, his hidden refuge in Ithilien.
Mhm.
So this guy is one of the guards of that refuge, and this power represents his ability to help defend against enemies.
That's excellent.
He seems good. I mean, it's those turns where things went really bad for you in Lord of the Rings, and you really like someone's about to just die.
Mhm.
Like I feel like this is like clutch.
This
Yeah.
ability would have saved me last night.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Didn't have it.
Seems clutch.
And of course, he can give it to
Yeah.
himself, and then he'll have 4 defense and sentinel for at least 1 round. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
What a tank.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Charge of the Rohirrim. Yay! It is a tactics event costing 2, reading, action until the end of the phase. Each Rohan character with a mount attachment gets +3 attack.
That could be insane.
I feel like people have been waiting for this card,
Good
like since we
grief.
first did mounts.
Yeah.
And Rohan.
Mhm.
I'm very excited for this. This is like, I think I teased somewhere when we revealed, I think it's the Steed of the Mark. Is that the spirit one attaches to Gondor or Rohan?
Yeah, so there's that one. Then there's the Rohan Warhorse.
And then the Rohan Warhorse.
Yeah.
But the Steed of the Mark, people are kind of like, okay, maybe I'd rather play Unexpected Courage. Why would I play this? Someone asked me that. I'm like, it has the mount trait. I'm like, what does that do? I'm like, just wait.
Yeah.
It matters.
Give it
Well,
time.
and this
Right.
is a really great way to capture that flavor because it's like you can picture even 3 or 4 guys with a mount,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it's just like they're.
Well, I just love the
out.
idea now. So Dune here, right, in
Mhm.
spirit, slap that spirit mount on him, and he can attack to the staging area by himself for, I think it's 3.
Yeah, really just some
Now
damage.
it's 6, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
for sure.
And it's not just him, right? So you could, I picture this being like the board wipe turn,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
I've got Firefoot on Eomer, and I've got a couple other Rohan people with horses,
Yeah.
and then
And
it's
they
like,
just charge in
and you're
and
just
kill
like,
everything.
you feel like those horses getting ready to just like, let me play it, let me play it. Is it time yet?
Oh, and then if you really want to recreate the Battle of Pelennor, you can play 4th Aerlingus right beforehand. And all
Right.
of your heroes can attack into the staging
Into the staging area. There you
with
go.
+3.
Good gravy.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
That would be a lot of fun.
Things
And-
should go okay for you at that point.
Right, yeah.
The art is also spectacular here.
Yeah.
Horses, horns, shields. What
Yeah.
more do you want here from the Rohan folk? All
I
right.
don't think you can ask for anything else.
No, you can't.
All right, next up we have Galadriel's Handmaiden,
Mm.
Spirit Ally, Sylvan, 2 cost, 2 commitment, 0 strength, 1 defense, 1 health. Response: after Galadriel's Handmaiden enters play, choose a player. That player reduces his threat by 1.
Interesting.
Okay.
Tell us why you went with this for this character. Obviously, it has good stats for spirit with the 2 willpower, well costed proportionately, at least for Sylvans. But what made you want this trait, especially because I think it was last pack we got an event that kind of overlaps with this nicely.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
lets you get
Yeah. The
reduced
last
threat.
one. Yeah, that's right. The spirit event
Mhm.
for the Sylvan came with the
Paladin
last
and
one.
Pearls.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you can return it to lower threat. So absolutely. So threat reduction is a feature of the spirit sphere,
Mhm.
and I felt it was appropriate that Galadriel's Handmaiden had an effect very reminiscent of Galadriel, so that you could see her bearing the cup. That was sort of a scene. It was when they part ways with the Fellowship there at the
Yeah.
edge of the river. They're getting the boats, and it says that one of her handmaids brought the cup, and then she, they all kind of drank from it. So yeah, it's like playing them just saying, "Here, have a drink. You look like lower your threat."
Mhm.
And then what's great is then you can combo it up in the same sphere, and then bounce her back to your hand, lower your own threat by 2, play her again.
Yeah.
Spread the wealth.
Yep.
That's excellent.
Spread the wealth.
Spread the
She's
wealth.
really one of my favorites though, because all the others are like 1 printed willpower
That's right.
or less.
She's
and
standing
so
above.
she's one of those that are like, she doesn't get bounced back to my hand as
Mhm.
often, because a lot of the others I kind of rely on Celeborn's ability to boost them up, but she's good
Yeah.
from the start.
I
So if
agree.
you're running Galadriel and Celeborn, the turn that she enters play, she'll be 3 willpower and won't exhaust to commit.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So,
fantastic.
Can't get much better than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she could block a gnat or something.
You can,
Really
She can
block.
actually block anything.
Poor,
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
poor,
very
Gal-
fair.
poor
Yeah.
Galadriel's handmaiden
It's just-
died.
it's
Like,
based
send
to
her
every
up
time.
against that hill
That's what's
troll.
going to happen. She's going to get sacrificed, right? That's the real truth.
that happened in our game, and it became a joke. Like I kept drawing her she died like 3 times the last time. She's like, what am I even doing here?
I'm supposed to be bearing cups, not frontline fighting here. All right, next up, we have the Mirror of Galadriel.
Oh man, this is going to be cool.
Unbelievable art here. It is, of course, a Spirit of Attachment, costing 1, artifact and item traded, attached to Galadriel, and then reading action, exhaust Mirror of Galadriel to search the top 10 cards of your deck for a card and add it to your hand. Shuffle the rest back into your deck, then discard a random card from your hand.
This card is so goodly awesome
Yes,
in every way.
It
Like,
so very much is.
Not only is that a super powerful effect, right?
Mhm.
Like searching 10, getting whatever you want, but the flavor of discarding one at random after
Yep.
is one of the
fits with
coolest
so
cards
much
I've ever
stuff.
seen in this
like,
game.
We say it a lot that you guys are pretty much masters about tying mechanics into the flavor of the world. So talk to us about that a little bit with this particular card.
I'm gonna let Caleb handle this one.
Well, the quote that the quote that inspired me, is it on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's. I think we get the first half of it.
No, it shows things that were and things that are and things
Yeah.
that maybe.
Things that were and things that are.
Things that because then I think she goes on to explain that that some of the things like may never come to pass.
Yeah,
that
that's
if you leave your path, maybe to turn aside. Like I think Sam looks in the mirror and sees something. He's like, "Is there anything I can do to prevent it?" Or like, "I've got to go home," and she's like, "Well, you don't know whether it's really going to work out that way or not."
Yeah.
And so I just felt that element of uncertainty was so
Yeah.
important. Besides, in Lord of the Rings, we really we don't have a lot of effects that just let you go get whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
They're very select. They're very few. So in our game, that's particularly powerful. It's like any card. It doesn't have to have the mount trade. It doesn't have to be a Rohan. It can be anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, I really need that sneak attack to go with my Gandalf.
Yeah.
I can go get it. But then to balance it out, again, both thematically and mechanically, it's like, well, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. Right?
Yeah.
And that's happened to me, where like sometimes I'm like, yes, and other times like, no, there goes Gandalf.
If by that happens to you, you mean every time I use this card.
That's right.
I mean, I think it's so. It absolutely demonstrates the balance between balance and theme that you guys continuously kill it on in this game.
Thanks.
Where like as a card effect, in any card game, even a competitive card game, if it was search 10 cards, get a card, discard at random, that's an awesome balancing effect.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same way with any prophecy or like with this where you can see the past or maybe the future and maybe the future,
Mhm.
That's so phenomenally good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Tying that together. So
It's a lot of
kudos to
fun.
you. That's
Yeah,
really good.
True kudos to you guys. Well done.
Really good.
Oh man,
Stunning.
I'm jealous. You get
All
to
right.
read this one.
Next up, we have the Wandering Ant, who has, in my opinion, the greatest mustachio.
The leaf mustachio.
He's 2 cost, 3 health ally. He seems okay. He's an int.
Oh, man,
2
it's so
commitment,
cool
2
looking.
2 strength, 2 defense, 3 health. Cannot have restricted attachments. He enters play exhausted.
Totally worth it. Totally worth
it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it. He's really
You
good.
kidding me? This is
Um,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
What-
also,
what a
like,
champ right here.
I think, again, like the theme coming through here, right? Where it's
Mhm.
like, ants aren't hasty.
Don't be
I guess the
hasty.
best way to say it. They aren't hasty,
Yeah.
right? So he comes in, he's not doing anything, and then you punch him, and he's like, hey, you're going to die. I'm the tree.
Yeah.
You've messed with the wrong
I
mustache.
think we had a lot of discussion.
I'm the tree.
I think we had quite a bit of discussion before we finally settled on this. It was really like, Ents are a tough nut to crack in this game because everyone knows like, an angry Ent is just, super
worst.
powerful, right?
Yeah.
And so I know some people saw these stats and they're like, my Gondor guy is as strong as that, which is only half the story. There's other stuff coming out down the road that'll feel maybe a little more entish, but it was sort of like, well, if we make them as big as they're supposed to be, they'd have to cost like 8 resources, which wouldn't be a lot of fun. So we decided to go the other way and just say, let's give them these stats that are appropriate to maybe like a 4 or 5 cost ally,
Mm-hmm.
but give them on a 2 cost.
Yeah.
But make him not usable in the first
But you
round.
got to wait a turn.
Which is great. Now
Yeah.
that's phenomenal for the
Mhm.
ends. Now, is it possible that an int hero may at some point? You don't have to
well,
answer that. I'm kidding.
can't say
Can't
say
tell
just
ya.
yet.
All right,
Anyways,
so that's
that's a
great.
really cool card.
For 2 costs, especially within lore, having these kinds of stats is pretty amazing. All right, ooh, one of my favorite kinds of things. This is the Cloak of Lorien. It is a lore attachment costing 1, item traded, reading attached to a Noldor or Sylvan character, limit 1 per character, and then attached character gets +1 defense or +2 defense instead if the active location has the forest trait. Awesome. Just awesome. This is amazing. Great art, by the way.
I was going to say, this art is actually deserving of a shout out.
Yeah.
This art is
not
really
that
good.
any of this art is bad.
Yes,
but like, there are standout pieces, and this is one.
Yeah.
So tell us about this. Of course, you know, we're all familiar, I think, with like the Cloaks of Lorien and how they hide you, of course, and it's a forested realm and all that good stuff. But what kind of guided you through, especially the attached to Noldor or Sylvan character, especially?
So we had a couple thoughts in mind. One thing we definitely wanted to early on. We definitely wanted to make an elven defensive defense boosting card. Sort of similar to the Gondorian shield or the ring mail that dwarves can get.
Sure.
So we wanted it to attach to a Noldor or a Sylvan, any elf. And then we also kind of wanted to make a callback to, well, elves are, their home is in the forests. They want to be in forests. Anytime they're in forests, when you see Legolas going back to Lothlorien, he's just so happy, right?
Yeah.
Trees,
And,
look at all the trees.
and it's almost kind of a callback to the dwarf cards from Khazad-dûm that that rewarded you if you were going to a mountain or if you were underground or in a dark place.
Nice.
But at the same time, right? But at the same time, forests are a lot more prevalent in Middle Earth, of course, and many of our quests feature them predominantly. So you're going to find a lot of use out of this card.
That's excellent. I can't wait to use it myself.
And on the right character or hero, I'm picturing something like Sentinel, right? It's like an extra 2 defense could be insane.
Yeah, and it's character too, so you could put it on the Defender of the Nath, who's a neutral Sylvan,
Awesome.
and that makes him just that much better.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it's not even restricted; it's only limit 1. So that's
Woo.
interesting.
It's cool. Very cool.
That's true. Yeah.
Robert?
Sometimes it's the things that are not on the card
That
Yeah.
make it,
that are really significant. Yeah, like
absolutely.
I was looking at it, like it totally escaped me that it's not even restricted.
Yeah, it's true.
So I can
Good
have
point.
like the elven mail plus
Yeah,
a
you put this
weapon
and
or
Elven
something,
Mail and a Rivendell blade on Elro here, and all of a sudden,
right?
He's doing some work.
Yeah. good job pointing that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Truly excellent.
Robert, I'm going to break the format, and I'm going to let you read
Oh.
the next card.
Oh man, thanks so much. That's a real treat for me. All right, so last we have here is Nenya. It is a neutral attachment costing 1 ring and artifact traded, and then it reads attached to Galadriel. She gains the lore resource icon, and then quest action exhaust Nenya and Galadriel to add her willpower to another character's willpower until the end of the phase.
That makes her a lot more useful.
Holy smokes.
Because she's sitting at 4.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Anytime you see
That's
the
not
ring
shabby.
trait in this game,
It's a big deal.
it should be Lord of the Rings,
It's like
right?
the ring is in the title.
Yes.
it's
Right.
almost like they're important.
What
That ring's true.
What an amazingly powerful and cheap for like what it does relative to Galadriel. This
Yeah.
is super cheap. I would be willing to pay 2, if not maybe 3, for something like
Yeah, I
this.
mean, it's. I love the rings. I love what you guys have done with the rings. Obviously, the first benefit there, getting the extra resource type, can be phenomenally important. But then also, early game, I think the ability to add her for commitment. Late game, you might be threatened down a little bit, and you're like, I'm going to use her for this. But that's so cool.
In the right deck, it's not even an either or choice. You're going to find a way to do both,
standard.
right? You
Right,
get a
right.
unexpected courage on Galadriel, which is
You
funny,
You
right?
guys have said that card about
You
20
look at
times.
Galadriel and you're like, and you think, she can't quest, attack, defend. Why would I throw unexpected courage on her? But then you get these combos going. Yeah, I've been in playtesting. I did mostly like a leadership Celeborn, lore Haldir, and then Galadriel Trisphere, and with using Olorien to lower the cost of Sylvans, and then using that to give her lore. It's just been a blast to play.
Yeah.
Just bouncing elves in and out of play every turn, and they're not exhausting the quest and getting all those effects.
The elvish way.
Yeah, and then just having the option too that you can leave her up, quest. If it turns out you need her, you get the willpower. If you don't, you're like,
the last
you
second,
draw a
too.
card,
Yeah.
Yep.
lower your threat.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the last second, and because she's not technically questing, she evades a lot of bad treachery effects that could potentially
That's
hit
really
people who are
good.
questing.
That makes a lot of sense. You can wait, right?
Yeah,
you
I
can
like
add
that.
and wait till the very end. Yeah.
And I like that, again, thematically, it's a lot of fun, too, that she reveals the ring to Frodo at one point to kind of inspire him in that. But you get the impression that she's using this power from this ring to protect, like, all of Lorien. Like, it's somehow invisibly, like, protecting their borders, motivating her soldiers and rangers and that. So I love this idea that Frodo's on a quest somewhere and you're about to lose, and then Galadriel exhausts herself in the ring, and suddenly he's +4 willpower, and he's like, let's do it, you know?
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if this is true, and you bookies. I haven't read the books in a couple of years.
It's all right. None of
at
us
some
are
point,
perfect.
I feel like someone even his motivation like sees a vision of her.
Oh, yeah, he
Like,
does.
and it's like, oh yeah, Galadriel.
No, what's funny, so,
I'm
you know,
inspired.
Totally.
Let's
I've
get
been,
some commitment here.
yeah,
I'm gonna do this.
working through the sagas. That's exactly right. Like working through the sagas, I'm just rereading again
Yeah.
to brush up. And one of the things that really struck me in the second half of Two Towers is like both Frodo and Sam.
Yeah.
They keep remembering Galadriel, and they have the star glass, and they're like, "Oh, remember Galadriel," and just the picture of her in their mind like inspires them. Where like Sam's
Yeah.
like stepping up to a giant spider
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's remembering Galadriel.
Yeah.
Like it
Inspired.
gives him courage,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's phenomenal. And you guys, this is great.
And
This is
a
great.
beautiful
Yeah.
ring at that.
Yeah.
Great art as well.
Yes.
Yeah, this is almost a photo. You can
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
it is art, but if you look really close, you can barely tell.
Yeah,
it's
it's like,
that good.
that's might be
That's how
real.
good it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We are
I'm
very fortunate
I'm
to
gonna
have
go out on a limb and say
a
this.
great bunch of artists.
I would be happy to meet Galadriel.
Right.
Yeah. Who would?
Add that to my wish list.
so there you have it. These are all of the player cards from Celebrimbor's Secret. It's the 5th pack of the Ringmaker cycle. Thank you again to Matt and Caleb for joining us here. And we'll have more coming to you guys from Fantasy Flight's World Championship weekend. Take care.